I was placed in the Filner headlock and moved around as a rag doll while he whispered sexual comments in my ear.
Oh, that's nothing. Wait till you hear what San Diego Mayor Bob Filner is whispering in city taxpayers' ears. Forget forgive me, more like pay for me. Because the good mayor wants the good people of San Diego to pay his legal bills. That as he's fighting allegations of sexual harassment, the least the city council can do in the meantime is help him put those bills. And the decision whether it will ever come to pass could come as soon as tonight. I should point out that there is precedent for city councils, including the one in San Diego, helping pay the legal bills of beleaguered or targeted politicians on a host of lesser matters. But on to this matter. And Jedediah Bila and Julie Regitsk and Lenwood Brooks. Jedediah, what do you think?
Can you imagine the audacity, what this guy did? You now have 7 women that have come forth and said, filed claims of sexual harassment, said he has been inappropriate toward them, and now he is somehow transferring that responsibility onto taxpayers and saying, you know what, you guys are now responsible for defending me. You're responsible for getting me out of this hole that I dug myself into. I think he's a disgrace. I think he should resign, and I think the people of San Diego will side with me.
Julie.
Well, and not only that, amen to everything Jedediah said, but I think the city of San Diego is possibly on the hook for his behavior, right? So he harassed women. Women will now sue potentially the city of San Diego. Yes. So this guy is a creep not only for making the taxpayers pay up his legal defense, he's a creep for potentially exposing the taxpayers to untold millions of dollars for his creepy behavior because he can't keep it in his pants. I mean, I
careful. We want to stick to the family. Lenwood, the argument is already raised late today that those harassed are saying, if you dare, city council, pay his legal bills, we're going to sue you for that. I'm just cutting to the gist of this to say that it is, to Julie's point, turning into a huge debacle.
It is, Neil, but in terms of paying his legal bills, you have 7 of the 9 city councilmen want him out of office. And I think it's going to be really hard for them to foot his legal bill for an activity that was not a part of his official duties. It was actually illegal. So I think tonight they will be declining the mayor's request.
But how much have they, or has he acknowledged these charges? He is already going to go into sort of a therapy class about how I cannot harass women, I can't pinch women, all this stuff. So he goes the 2 weeks of that, however long that takes. Does that absolve him of any other legal responsibility?
I mean, my question is, should we be paying for that as well? Should we be paying for his therapy? Where do you draw the line? No, it doesn't absolve him. He has a responsibility to people. You hold public office. You have a responsibility to people.
So you hold politicians to a higher standard?
I do. Absolutely do.
But there's a long history of Republicans and Democrats who can't keep it in their
Well, then that's their problem, and they should all resign. They should all be forced out of office.
Yeah, but then a lot of them would be out of office in that case. And some of the heroes of America, from Thomas Jefferson to John Kennedy, FDR, they'd all be
That would leave room for the fresh blood that I have been praying for a long time to step up to the plate.
So you wouldn't need Thomas Jefferson out of office?
This goes beyond questionable.
Thomas Jefferson, would he be out because he couldn't keep it in his pants?
If he could, yes, absolutely.
Really?
Whoa.
Wow.
If he couldn't keep it in his pants.
Well, I actually don't think they should be held to a higher standard. You should hold this chairman, CEO of Goldman Sachs to the same standard that you hold the CEO of San Diego to, which is you just don't go around harassing women, especially if they,
His public office, though, is a bit different. You have an accountability to people in a different way.
I don't really care.
What don't you care about?
I don't really look. Here's my thing. If you violate the law, and sexual harassment is violating the law, I don't care if you're in a management position at McDonald's or you're in a management position as the mayor of San Diego.
But you don't put politicians or those who hold office to a slightly higher standard?
You know why I don't? I just want these guys to do a good job and stay within the law. I mean, I'm asking them to do a good job by me. What they do if they cheat on their wives, I really don't care. It's not my business. That's between them and their wives.
Because you know the age-old argument on that, if you're willing to cheat on your wife, God knows who else you'll cheat on.
Then we would not have had Thomas Jefferson didn't cheat on his wife. We would never have had an FDR. We would never have had a JFK and a bunch of very good presidents, in my view, or Bill Clinton for that matter. We would not have had these.
Lenwood, what do you make of that argument? That it has raised all these other arguments in the past. And then one of the things that popularly Anthony Weiner has said, and Elliot Spitzer is trying to campaign now for city controller in New York, is that forgive us our past trespasses. We have moved on. What do you say?
Well, it's up to the voters. I know in San Diego's case, Neil, the voters overwhelmingly want the mayor to resign. And you see in New York with Anthony Weiner.
But they, in the past, overwhelmingly elected him.
That's true,
now
but
it's changed in the polls, but there was a time when Richard Nixon won a landslide re-election, and in a matter of months, was vilified and they wanted him out on his hiney and they had to wait a couple of years. When is it appropriate to say ta-ta?
Well, when the facts come out, and I think they're still coming out in this case in San Diego, they've definitely come out in New York. I think once the facts come out and the public can make up their mind, it's time to go when you've done these kind of terrible behaviors, which are, in San Diego's case, illegal.
For me, it's when there's a repeated pattern of deception. I mean, there are a lot of people, when you look at Anthony Weiner, that when he first came out and apologized, that were willing to forgive him. Many New York voters were willing to say, you know what, we'll put this aside. We'll focus on policy.
Do you think that was a special level of creepiness? I can see the fooling around. I'm not condoning it, to Julie's point.
To me,
but
yes.
I do think that anytime you take pictures of your privates and you send them to people, on a certain level, that just gets kind of weird.
I could not vote for him even after round one, but I think that many people could have. But when you saw a repeated pattern of deception, repeated lies,
so that's a special class of itself, right?
Yeah,
is it? Would you?
Well,
share that
I mean, the young lady in question to whom those emails were sent went on Howard Stern today and said that he's so busy doing certain things that he wouldn't have time to be mayor. And after seeing what I've seen, I think she's kind of right, because this is a guy who's obviously obsessed and has an issue that's preventing him and precluding him from doing anything other than...
Well, the rap against John Kennedy was that he was a horn dog. And how he was able to deal with all the crises he's did, I'm not meaning to besmirch it 50 years after the fact, but that he obviously dealt with the Cuban Missile Crisis, a lot of crises, but he had a very big libido. So my point is, should any of this matter?
Well, it shouldn't matter. Again, look, there's a big difference between what Anthony Weiner did after lying to voters.
And Weiner is no John Kennedy.
And Weiner is no John Kennedy. My problem with Anthony Weiner, by the way, is, well, I have many problems with him, but my number one problem with Anthony Weiner is actually that I thought he was a really bad congressman.
Well, there is that. Not much legislation to show.
And ineffective. So that's why I wouldn't have voted for him, even if he was...
But Lenwood, it comes at a time on the right or the left, or a lot of these embarrassments, they always seem to happen in waves here, that it's hitting basic trust issues in our government, in our leaders, and I'm wondering whether it's justified. What do you think?
Well, they do come in waves, I think, people hear the stories and more people will come forward. But this behavior is wrong, and the politicians that do it, they live in a different world now with 24-hour news coverage, Twitter, social media. So they are held to a different standard, because the world today is a lot different than the world that JFK governed.
Yeah, but they all managed to move on and do okay.
When you run for elected...
Spitzer's going to win his city control spot.
Right, but when you run for elected office, you accept a certain level of responsibility. You know your life is public. You know people are going to be aware. If you can't handle that responsibility, don't run for public office, because you're embarrassing yourselves and you're making a mockery of voters in the process.
TV anchor's okay. Public office, maybe not.
Yeah,
That's a fair point.
My problem is what he's doing to his wife and son. That's
actually a very, very good point. But as I said before, the TV anchor thing, still okay. All right, guys, I want to thank you all very much. We'll keep following this. We might be getting word on some of these scandals, particularly what's happening in San Diego, by tomorrow at this time. See you then.